You are listening to the Namibian's audio recording.
Hello everyone and a very warm welcome to the Namibian podcast. I'm Tuyakula Musheko and today I'm joined by a very special guest. She's the country senior partner and tax leader for PwC Namibia, Chantell Husselmann. Welcome Chantell and thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Tuya, for that introduction, and thank you to the Namibian also. Thanks for having me.
Great. It's been just a little under a year since the first lockdown was introduced, and a lot of lives and a lot of livelihoods as well have been lost in this year. Many economies worldwide have been left devastated, and as a response, a lot of countries have looked to amending tax laws as a remedial measure to provide much needed relief. Just to give you a quick overview, the trends that we have seen, a lot of countries have gone to reduce VAT rates or to even zero rate on PPE and medical equipment, and they also have they have exempted a lot of essential services such as transport, storage, and distribution. So Chantell, can you just tell us, in your view, what's happening worldwide?
Yes, it's a very relevant topic. And ever since these measures were announced, it is important that even for a smaller economy in Africa, we need to make sure that we keep abreast of the developments globally from a tax efficiency perspective, and also to make sure that our own legislation is not stagnant and does speak to the local needs being experienced in the country, especially in times of, for example, droughts and like the current pandemic impacted times.
Okay. And just in layman's terms, why is this referred to as transactional taxes? And how does this impact prices on goods, like everyday goods?
Yeah. So the most common transactional taxes would be, for example, import VAT. That's when goods are imported into Namibia. Okay. And that VAT would be payable when the goods reach Namibia. That's whether it comes in via road transport, air transport, or it's shipped in. It is payable whether it's imported by a business or by me and you in our personal capacity also. Okay. So this VAT will not have may not be a final tax to the importer, specifically our VAT registered entities importing goods, but it is still a significant cash flow impact that should be managed. And then another topical transactional tax in the indirect tax space would be customs duties that's payable. Yeah. So the customs duties again is levied under the Customs and Excise Act, and there it heavily depends upon the country of export, the origin of that country, and then one also looks at the type of goods being imported. So we call it commodities in that space. So certain commodities would be exempted from customs duties. Others would have an inflated rate. Others would have a lower rate. So it pretty much depends upon what is imported or imported. But for customs duties, that's a final tax, whether it's a business importing the goods or whether it is me and you in our private capacity. So the essence with final taxes is that it inflates the local price of getting the goods to the final consumer as well. Okay.
So having said that, can you just give us some examples of countries worldwide who have implemented this COVID relief tax legislations?
Yes, so the latest, to our knowledge, is mostly EU countries with such relief measures. So yes, it's when I scroll through the list, it's very interesting to note the different approaches by these countries. But overall, one can definitely see that it's all an attempt at getting the goods more affordable to households at the end of the day. Okay. So we contributed an article to the Namibian of 5 March with a table summary of such examples and To the listeners who wish to also further read up on these announcements are more than welcome to follow that publication.
Okay.
So, but for purposes of today's discussion, a quick overview to you would be that, for example, Austria proposed to zero rate the local sale of their masks and the import of masks by NGOs specifically.
Okay.
Belgium follows suit by having a reduced VAT rate on masks. So they reduce it. Also, France reduced their VAT rate on face masks, but France then extends it to hydrogels and to protective clothing as well. And then the list continues where, for example, Spain would go all out by also having relief on closely related services.
Okay.
So a very wide net there, covering transport services, storage services, distribution services in respect of COVID-19 goods to be fully exempted from VAT. Okay. So that is where I would stop. It's not the full list, Tuya.
Okay.
But as you've heard, most of these measures are directed at the current need, your typical, the mask, the sanitizing, the protective clothing, and then my understanding that vaccines will also be considered. So at the end of the day, moving an indirect tax makes it more affordable to households.
Okay.
And all of those amendments or announcements have a sunset clause.
Okay.
The longest I've seen is it's stretching up till December 2022.
Okay.
So indeed making way for the uncertainty that lies ahead of when we no longer have a high consumption and a high import of these commodities.
Okay, awesome. So Chantell, just bringing it closer to home, we haven't seen these taxes implemented in Namibia. Why do you think the Namibian government hasn't considered this as of yet? Why do you think they haven't reacted to the current need?
So yes, Tuya, I'm not saying there's no conversation on the need.
All right.
But there's definite no bill drafted or obviously legislated on this topic.
Yes.
Of indirect tax reliefs on these commodities. What we should also keep in mind is that so these only started in those countries now in 2021. It's a recent conversation.
Yes.
So in order to have that for Namibia, for example, it would start from a proposed amendment. And, with proposed amendments, there should be stakeholder engagement,
yes.
stakeholder involvement.
Yes.
Then we have policy drafting and then being legislated.
Yes.
So it sounds like it's a lengthy, time-consuming process. But my message would be, so if we are to start the conversation today, yes, we are late, but we not necessarily too late.
Okay.
So in order to have, for example, this being passed as legislation in Namibia, as amendments to the VAT and the Customs and Excise Acts, it's not too late. It will be a challenge, reaping the benefits still in the 2021 calendar year, but definitely perhaps for the 2022 calendar year, where we also might still have high consumption of these commodities.
Okay. And having mentioned that, what are then the impact that we're going to feel based on the fact that the government hasn't implemented any COVID tax relief legislation? So what does it mean for you and me on an everyday? Yeah. We buy masks and we buy PPE all the time. So what is the effect that's going to have on us?
Yeah, so as you rightly stated, we're consuming these goods not even just for this year, since early last year.
Yeah.
For some of us on a daily basis, others on a weekly basis. If I just think in my own household how we go through masks, for example. So in essence, it's not too late to wake up, but definitely late as we foresee the current efforts like masking and sanitizing. It's far from over, and so as a country we still reliant a lot, unfortunately, but we are reliant on the efforts of importing these commodities for a while to come still. So that means the prices of these commodities, to me and you, are inflated, where there's an indirect tax that has been levied and that's stuck in the process. Or if I import any of those as a final user in my personal capacity, then I will have to pay that import VAT myself, and that will be a final tax to me. And then specifically on the topic of vaccines, for example. So vaccines would be seen as, the vaccine itself would be seen as medical goods. So from a VAT perspective, the classification of goods or services are quite important and well defined in the Act as well. So the medical services are the exemption that we currently enjoy. But that will be the service of the medical practitioner that is effecting the vaccine, the consultation fee, for example. That will be VAT exempted. But the vaccine itself will be like normal medicines, like currently medicine and pills, etc., are all medical goods and are subject to VAT at 15%. Which means it inflates the price and the impact. For example, if you do have a medical aid, it inflates the cost to the medical aid available amount with the 15% VAT. So that's the current impact, and that's where governments globally should consider relief, where there's anticipation of bulk imports and local distribution, warehousing, and ultimate selling of vaccines. Because the only way to get the vaccine to me and you without being impacted by a 15% VAT or import VAT, for example, would be having it as an import by the state, where imports directly done by the state are VAT exempted, and then also having the local provision of that goods, having it as free. Because when there's no consideration or price, as we know it, there can't be a VAT charge. So it should be totally free of charge. And in that manner, it can get 15%, for example, more affordable to the end users. Other than that, we have private organizations playing a role in the effective rollout and administrating of the vaccine process. Then it's a business transaction, it's a distribution of medical goods, it's a sale of a medical good, and to that effect, a 15% VAT would be applicable.
All right. Thank you so much, Chantell. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you guys for tuning in and listening. Please don't forget to subscribe to the Namibian YouTube channel, and it's bye for now.